I will hurt you for this.
I am the sword in the darkness.
Lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
Let me give you some advice, bastard.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
To claim a dragon, you must also be prepared to die.
You must see in me a ruler and the symbols of authority, the shield and the sword.
With the loss of 4 dragons, Rhaenyra's only advantage was fading. Luckily for her, over the centuries, House Targaryen had spilled more than blood on Dragonstone. She promised gold and title to any of the Targaryen bastards who could tame the 6 unclaimed dragons on the island. These bastards were called the Dragonseeds, though most were called Supper. And perhaps the dragons were eventually sated, or bored. But 4 of them accepted riders and were enlisted in Rhaenyra's cause.
What is up, everybody? Jeremy Icenfire here, and welcome to the channel. House of the Dragon Season 2 is well underway, and we are fastly approaching one of the most anticipated storylines of the second season. That, of course, being the Dragonseeds. And today, we're going to take a look at exactly what the origins of the Dragonseeds are, and what role they could potentially be playing on House of the Dragon. The name Dragonseed is a term that has been given to bastards in Westeros of Valyrian descent, who are usually fathered in the islands of Blackwater Bay, including Dragonstone and Driftmark. And there certainly has been no shortage of Dragonseeds, or people claiming to be Dragonseeds, ever since the days of Aegon the Conqueror. And fast-forwarding decades later to the Dance of the Dragons, the conflict that House of the Dragon is based on, the Dragonseeds would become more valuable than ever. After the devastating battle above Rook's Rest and the loss of Rhaenys and Meleys, one of the most experienced duos of dragon and dragon riders on Team Blacks, Rhaenyra would find herself in need of more dragon riders. They had a great deal of unclaimed dragons living on Dragonstone at the time, like Vermithor, Silverwing, and a great deal of wild dragons who had never been claimed, yet without riders, these dragons were essentially useless, which would eventually lead Rhaenyra and Jace to come up with the idea to potentially fill some of these unclaimed mounts with Dragonseeds, in hopes of bolstering their forces against the Greens to combat the might of Vhagar, which led Rhaenyra and Jace to offer lands and titles to any of the Dragonseeds who managed to tame an unclaimed dragon, which would go on to become one of the bloodiest events during the Dance of the Dragons, an event that would become known as the Red Sowing, or the Sowing of the Seeds, which would go on to kill scores of would-be dragon riders, while burning and maiming twice as many. Yet after a great deal of carnage, 4 dragons would go on to bend their necks to Dragonseeds and would become enlisted in Rhaenyra's fight against the Greens. And so far, on House of the Dragon, 3 of these characters have already been introduced, starting with Adam of Hull, who would go on to claim the dragon Seasmoke. Seasmoke, of course, was the mount of Laenor Velaryon in Season 1, who famously faked his death at the end of the season and escaped across the Narrow Sea. And while the show hasn't exactly confirmed what his fate was, it does look like Adam of Hull will be claiming his dragon this season. And this was one of the Dragonseeds I was most looking forward to seeing in Season 2, especially considering the big problem that arose at the end of Season 1 by them not killing off Laenor. In Fire and Blood, the dragon lore is set up very plainly by George R.R. Martin, only 1 rider per dragon at a time. So technically, as long as Laenor is still alive, nobody should be able to claim his dragon Seasmoke. And although we did get that quick throwaway line in Episode 2 of Rhaenyra stating that the dragon Seasmoke has become restless as of late, which led many fans to believe that Laenor did indeed die across the Narrow Sea, although it wasn't exactly the confirmation that I think a lot of us were hoping for. But it looks like Adam of Hull will be claiming Seasmoke regardless, who we have seen in Season 2 already, along with his brother, Alan of Hull, both of which seemingly were confirmed to be the bastard sons of Corlys Velaryon. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Adam of Hull and Seasmoke eventually meet. But next we have the dragon Vermithor, the second largest dragon alive during the Dance of the Dragons, which would go on to bend his neck to a dragonseed called Hugh the Hammer, who has been introduced on Season 2 and is played by the phenomenal actor Kieran Bew. On House of the Dragon, Hugh Hammer is a blacksmith living in King's Landing, during a time when the city is on the brink of madness thanks to the food shortages. And so far, I'm really enjoying the extra backstory that they are giving to Hugh Hammer, which is something that we don't learn a whole lot about in Fire and Blood. But here on the show, he is married with a sick child, and we see him in the latest episode trying to escape the city of King's Landing before it falls into utter madness, with the gates unfortunately being closed just as they reach them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Hugh makes his way all the way from King's Landing to Dragonstone and ends up claiming the dragon Vermithor, which of course was the massive dragon that Daemon was singing to in High Valyrian at the end of Season 1. But next, we have a character named Ulph the White, or Ulph the Sot, as he is commonly referred to, as he is very fond of drink in Fire and Blood, who we have already seen introduced on House of the Dragon as well. And while we don't know a whole lot about his backstory yet, he does claim to be the bastard brother of Daemon Targaryen. Ulph the White would eventually go on to claim the dragon Silverwing, which was the mount of the good Queen Alysanne, the dragon who famously refused to cross north of the Wall when Queen Alysanne visited the Night's Watch, which we hear Cregan Stark referring to in Episode 1.
My father brought King Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne to see the Wall. His Grace stood at this very outlook and watched as their dragons refused to cross it.
And Silverwing, of course, is one of the new dragons that we have not yet seen on the series, so I'm really looking forward to getting our first glimpse of this magnificent dragon, which is said to be one of the bigger dragons in the Dragon Mount. But last, and certainly not least, probably the most popular Dragonseeds of them all, and the one character that has yet to be introduced on House of the Dragon, we have Nettles, who, in Fire and Blood, goes on to claim the wild dragon, Sheepstealer. Along with Silverwing, Vermithor, Seasmoke, and the rest of the mounted dragons that reside within the Dragon Mount, there are also 3 wild dragons who have never been claimed by riders: Sheepstealer, Grey Ghost, and the formidable Cannibal. By the time the Dragonseeds storyline takes place, Grey Ghost was nowhere to be found, as the dragon was notoriously elusive. Cannibal, on the other hand, was the one dragon that no one even attempted to claim due to the ferocious reputation that it has garnered. Cannibal was well known for being the biggest and most ferocious of all of the wild dragons, who would commonly feed on other dragons and dragon eggs, hence earning the name the Cannibal. During the Red Sowing, Sheepstealer would go on to kill more Dragonseeds than any other dragon during the event, but Nettles would start to have a different approach. After bringing the dragon a freshly killed sheep every day, the dragon quickly became accustomed to Nettles' presence, and even came to expect it, which would go on to create a very unique bond between Nettles and Sheepstealer, eventually allowing her to claim the dragon. But as of this point, the character of Nettles has yet to be introduced on House of the Dragon, and there are rumors saying that she might not be introduced at all, with some reports even stating that Rhaena, the other daughter of Daemon, who is in the Vale presently, will actually be the one to claim Sheepstealer on the show. So I guess we'll have to wait and see just how these events play out over the final 3 episodes. One thing's for sure, the Dragonseeds will go on to have a major part in a few key battles that take place during the Dance of the Dragons, most notably the Battle of the Gullet and the Battles of Tumbleton. So definitely let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Which dragon are you looking forward to seeing most during the Dragonseed storyline? But that is going to do it for us today. I want to give a big thank you to everybody out there for watching. Keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and I will see you on the next one.
It's never been attempted before. To claim a dragon, you must also be prepared to die.